Welcome to Now with Jen. I'm Jen. My guest today is Steve Chucri, Maricopa County Supervisor and President and CEO of the Arizona Restaurant Association. How are you?
Good, really good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
This is a first, so I'm always seeing you at a restaurant or something. So
I know.
This is great.
This
Thank
is
you
fun.
for having me.
Well, we've got some candy.
I love
if
it.
You do wanna,
Exactly.
If you do want to partake in any of
should.
that. So I introduced you with two titles. You wear a lot of hats. You're also a dad and a husband, but you wear two very significant hats in the community. And so I want to know, what does the Maricopa County Supervisor do?
Well, a lot of people do, because it's one of those forms of government that people really don't understand or know. But I think the best way to explain it is think of it as a bridge between state and local government, right? So what people don't realize is Maricopa County is the fourth largest county in America.
Wow.
We are the fastest growing county for the third consecutive year, which now in 2021 will likely be the fourth consecutive year, because the second fastest growing county is Clark County, Nevada, and we're growing 75%, 76% faster than they are.
Jeez.
So we had, at one time pre-COVID, 200 people moving to Maricopa County a day, not the state, Jen, to the county.
Really?
So it's something to be very proud of for me as a Maricopa County Supervisor. But as a role as a supervisor, we do a lot of things, right? We work with our county attorney. We have both public defender as well as prosecuting people who commit horrendous crimes here in our county. We've got the sheriff's office who's protecting the public in not only our county islands, but really throughout all of Maricopa County. And then you move on to food inspections in restaurants, environmental issues with our air quality, as well as mosquitoes. And so it's kind of those mundane things that people don't pay attention to, like the county morgue, but things that are so interrelated and integral into making government successful in our daily lives really happens at the county level. So it's been a wonderful opportunity the past 8 years. I just got reelected to another term of 4. And my whole premise in wanting to run for public office, Jen, was I believed in my heart of hearts you could bring a business mindset to government. And that's what we've been able to do the past 8 years. And it's really rewarding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is a day in the life like? Because in your life, because of those two hats, and we'll get a little bit more into the restaurant side, but because you're doing both of those, how do you balance your time?
Well, it was funny. A U.S. Senator, I was on a flight to D.C. with him back in 2013, and he said, here's a U.S. Senator, he's very busy. He's like, I don't know how you do both jobs. You have to, I'm like, wait a second, you're a U.S. Senator, you're busier than I am. And so he made me think for a moment, and what it comes down to is prior to doing both roles, I didn't realize how much time I used to waste. So my days are spelled out for me. It's sometimes some are longer than others, but it's been a real blessing to be able to complement two loves of my life, politics and the restaurant industry. I joke that I took this job when I was 30 years old, and I was a busboy for 2 days, and I quit because I knew I was going to get fired on the third. And so I knew nothing about the restaurant industry, but it's one that I absolutely love. And we're a strong economy, almost a $15 billion economy just here in Arizona alone. So doing both jobs is rewarding, but yeah, it's a bit of a busy schedule.
So talking about the restaurants and such a big impact in our economy, like you just said, we've obviously experienced some things over the last almost year now, and the restaurants have taken a big hit.
Yeah.
So what can we do as a community to help those restaurants survive?
Well, it's interesting. Restaurateurs are some of the most passionate, kind people I've ever come to know. I grew up in the car business. I didn't know anything about restaurants. But they're passionate, and that kindness and generosity hasn't changed. I mean, the amount of food still being given away is amazing to me. But I will tell you that in speaking with my counterparts in other states who head up restaurant associations as well, people who have had to deal with Katrina, people who have had to deal with the sadness of 9/11, they said, you add all of that up together and it's still not as bad as what COVID has done to our industry. Nationally, in 2020, restaurants were estimated to sell almost $900 billion worth of food. We're almost $1 trillion industry. Tell me anyone that's that big. Tell me any one industry that's that big. It's not. So when you start off with such a great goal of that, and of course that trickles down to the state level as well, as Arizona hoping to hit $15 billion last year, and you look at the loss of revenue of $250 billion nationally, here in Arizona, $2 billion, 1,000 closures. a daily payroll that went from 14 million a day to 2. That's devastating.
Yeah, those statistics are
Devastating.
unreal.
And so I said that, COVID-19 treats its friends and enemies the same. It eviscerates both. And I saw it in the eyes of my restaurateurs. I saw it in the eyes of our people, our family members who are our workers, our servers. And so we displaced about 80% of our workforce, which really equates to about 160 to 170,000 people across the state of Arizona. So that's the bad news. The good news is that restaurateurs are some of the most resourceful people I've ever come to know. And we got creative. As you know, we did takeout weeks. We stood it up within 48 hours, and we tried to really push to go. And Arizonans, being the great people that they are, they followed suit, and they ordered takeout, and they ordered takeout, and they ordered takeout. And so that kept restaurants afloat, Jen, in a very big way. And then we created Arizona Restaurant Strong, which is through our foundation. Not one penny goes to administrative cost. Everything goes to displaced workers. We raised over $400,000, gave out $500 grants. And I'll never forget, I was at a restaurant here in Phoenix, and the maitre d' came up to me, a grown man, probably in his 50s, and he started to cry. And he hugged me and he said, "You have no idea how much that $500 meant to me and my family." So we're doing all that we can. The takeout, as I've said, has saved us. Being resourceful and at least having 50% occupancy, Governor Ducey has worked very well with our industry in trying to expand outdoor use. And of course, we got to be responsible, right? We have to have masks being worn. We have to have cleaning protocols that we always do in the restaurant industry, right? And QR codes on our tables instead of menus. All of those things are working, and they're working well. And we're hopeful as we continue to march forward with a vaccine and everything else that restaurants can hopefully be restored to where they once were here very soon.
Absolutely. Can people still donate to
Yes,
that?
absolutely. It's ArizonaRestaurantStrong.org is our website. They can, and people have very generously across our state, and even $20 or $50 donations have really made all the difference.
I love that. And then you just allocate that. Or
we have an
the
application
restaurants have to
process, right?
yeah.
So you have to be unemployed. You have to have certain things happen. And of course, fraud tries to work its way in, but we've been able to combat that pretty well. But yeah, and we turn it around very quickly. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you talked about both positions that you have, and they're very Arizona-centric. And I love to brag about being a native because there are not a lot of us here in town. I'm born and raised here. But my parents came from New York, and I'm first generation here. You are not. You have serious bragging rights about your roots here. Right. So what is the history and roots that you have here in the Valley?
It's amazing, Jen, is that on one hand, I'm a third generation Arizonan. On the other, on my father's side, I'm a first because he's an immigrant. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was born here a year before statehood in this little town called Morenci, Arizona, mining town. And his parents were here on a visa from Lebanon. He was an infant, went back to Lebanon, and when he was the ripe age of 13, he came back through Mexico with his father, my great-grandfather, and they said to my great-grandfather, "You're not a citizen." Turned him away at the border. He handed my grandfather $5 and said, "You're on your own, Tony," at the age of 13. You know, my 11-year-old will melt down if his iPad goes dead, right? Here, my grandfather did that, and he met this guy, and he sold dry goods door to door, and his best buddy sold some vegetables, and his name was Eddie Basha. And Eddie Basha went into business in 1932, and my grandfather, Tony Corey, went into the car business in 1928. So it was a great story, and my father immigrated from Lebanon. Very sadly, his father was murdered in the streets of Lebanon during some pretty tough times. And he came here around the same age, around 13 himself, and so it's great.
Story.
Well, I think history is always a guide for our future, and I think you can never not pay attention to it. And my dad went to work for Eddie Basha as a produce manager, and did a great job, and said to my grandfather, Mr. Basha called my grandfather Tony Corey and said, "I got a guy here that can sell cars. He doesn't need to clean produce." And that's how he and my mom met. When he went there. So very, very great, strong Lebanese lineage here in Arizona. But I think it kind of shows you the fabric from where many entrepreneurs like the Basha family and like the Corey family came from.
Well, I definitely knew the dealership growing up, and of course Basha's. And
yeah.
So is that where some of your desire to really be so rooted in supporting and being a leader in Arizona, is you saw that with your family too?
Yeah, I did. I saw my grandfather, who when he came here couldn't read or write, and he learned how to read, but later on, but still couldn't really write. He could only sign his name. And you know, I think it was President Nixon who said, show me a man or a woman who's faced adversity in their life, and I'll show you someone that's done something with their life. And so I look at my grandfather, and I look at what he was able to accomplish, being the first licensed auto dealer in the state, coming here with $5 in his pocket and working hard. You're not only inspired by that, but if you aren't motivated to do more and to do better, then you're not learning, right? And sadly, when I was very young, 7 years old, my father suffered a very serious head injury that left him paralyzed and brain damaged for 15 years. And you know, when you're taking care of your father as a young boy, like you would a child almost, it teaches you that adversity and overcoming adversity and learning how to do more with your life can really make you someone to do something, you know, to make the world a better place. And that sounds kind of trite.
Perspective.
Yeah, it puts things in perspective, but it also gives you that passion to do more. And when I've never been good at grades, ask your brother. I was told I'd never graduate from Brophy and never get to college, but we did both. And with that being said, I'll close with this, that it teaches you to work hard. And it inspires you to basically tell the naysayers you can do what you can do, and that's what we've done in Maricopa County.
That's pretty incredible. Well, I learned a few new things about you in this, and it's no surprise who you are at the core, hearing more about your history.
Oh,
so
that's very kind of you.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it, and hopefully everyone else learned a little bit more about you as a leader in our community.
I'm just trying to earn the candy, that's all.
You can have one, because I like to hoard it. But thank you for being here. I'd love to have you back too.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Now with Jen. We'll see you next time.